Hello and welcome. I'm joined by Pablos Holman, a hacker extraordinaire and mosquito laser zapper inventor. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Pablos, I'm going to obviously ask you about mosquitoes, big problem in India and the biggest killer in the world. So, but we're going to talk about that. Before that, how did you acquire this title of being a hacker and when did you start down this path?
Well, I became a hacker by not becoming anything else. I grew up hacking on computers, and that's it's a little different than than other careers. It's like being a scientist, but without all the formal training and accountability. And so, hacker I think of as more of a different mindset and a learning style, and specifically around very technical things. But it turns out to be good for some things. So.
Right. And when did you realize that this could be something you could follow as a vocation or even a profession as it's become today?
Well, I think, I worked on, my whole life I've been working on trying to do new things with computers. And a lot of that just comes from just figuring out what's technically possible. And that's what hackers are doing. Sometimes they're figuring out ways to break things, sometimes they're figuring out ways to build things. But for me, that's really what it's been about, is figuring out what we can use these computers for. And computers get better and more capable, and they get new I think of them as like new superpowers every day. And so each time that happens, we have to ask ourselves, does this change anything humans have ever done? And sometimes you get a hit. Sometimes you get an idea, a way to do something that's more efficient or more humane or faster, cheaper, better. So yeah.
So what was the first thing that you did? Was it a build or a break?
Oh man, when I was a kid, no, and it was a lot of breaking. The first computers were so slow and so failure prone that you basically were just rebooting all the time. And I would try something, and I was trying not to break things, but they always broke. And so, yeah, I think that just became my normal operating mode.
So you have a scary view on things. Scary because it's true, because you've said, and I was hearing you earlier, that everything that has a computer is really vulnerable and open to attack. And turns out that far more things in and around us have computers embedded in them.
Yeah, well, everything is open and vulnerable to attack with or without computers. That's been true since we made fences or windows or whatever. So it's just a more mysterious and more technical kind of attack that's happening in a computer. But yeah, fundamentally, we don't have ideas for how to make computers that are totally secure. And even if we did, they would probably be, they would also make computers totally useless. So, so what it means is that we have to get, a better understanding of what the risks are. We need to understand what we're going to do about them and plan for it so we're not surprised. We need to be diligent about, inventing and deploying solutions that we can come up with to the problems that we have. And, that's been going on for a long time with PCs. But as people adopt, computers into their other products, they've been slow to adopt some of the same solutions that we invented for PCs. And so a good example of that is like system update. Your PC has system update, your car doesn't. Why is that? There's 70 computers in your car. Probably it should have system update. So, hopefully in the future, those kinds of things will permeate more and more computers as we deploy them in more and more situations.
Right. So you've talked about how easy it is to hack, for instance, a credit card with an RFID chip. So should one be scared that there's someone like you out there, in this case doing good, but there may be others who are not?
Yeah, right. I don't think that's the way people are going to go steal your credit cards. There's much easier ways to steal credit card numbers. So probably you don't have to worry about having a metal wallet or something. Statistically, every credit card number has already been stolen. So if criminals get around to using yours, there's probably nothing you can do about it. Fortunately, in the case of credit cards, at least in most countries, the way the system works is you're indemnified against any fraud or problem. You're not going to lose your money. But that fundamentally means that the system is loaded with fraud. It's expensive to pay for that fraud. Somebody has to. And the way that it works in credit cards is the merchant pays for it. That means you're paying more every time you buy something, but it's hidden from view, so you don't realize you're doing it so much.
Right. So what are the 3 areas that someone like me or any average consumer should be concerned about, thinking about on a daily basis as we go about our lives?
Yeah, so in security we have this maxim, which is, if you're being chased by a bear, you don't have to be able to run faster than the bear. You just have to be able to run faster than your friends.
Right.
And that's really, what it comes down to. You don't want to be the low-hanging fruit. You want to be a little more diligent than most of the people around you. So the fundamental things that we tell people these days, of course you've heard, don't use the same password in multiple places. Now that's impractical because you can't remember a bunch of passwords. So you have to use a password manager. Password manager, you want to trust that thing because it has all your passwords. So, I use one called LastPass. There are others. I can't tell you that any of them is totally secure. I already told you nothing is. So, but I use LastPass. It has all my passwords. I don't know any of my passwords, and it takes care of updating them for different websites. So that's a basic thing you need to do. Second, you need to secure your email. If I get your password to your email, then I'm just going to go to every website on the internet and click, I forgot my password. And it's going to email you a new one. Right? And I'm going to intercept that, and I'm going to get into everything. So email is typically very insecure, and it's the gateway to everything else. So what I say is think about who's going to make the most secure email system. Well, it's probably not you. It's probably not your company. It's probably Google.
Yeah.
They have the most money.
Most of us are on Gmail.
Yeah, use Gmail. They have the most to lose. They have unlimited money. They can hire the most experienced security experts to secure Gmail, and I think that's what they're doing. So I'd say probably it's safest to use Gmail. And then I would say go use, in every case possible, but especially Gmail, turn on 2-factor authentication. So that means if I steal your password, I still can't get into your email. I have to have what we call 2-factor authentication, which means it talks to your phone. Whenever you try to log into Gmail, it checks with your phone. So now I got to steal your phone and your password. That's a lot harder. So things like that are really important for Gmail, for your financial accounts, and those kinds of things. Right. And then I'd say the third thing you could do is look, right now desktop computers are all really insecure. The browsers are running Adobe Flash, they're running Adobe PDF, and they're running Java. And these are easy ways to do remote code execution. That's ways for me to load code onto your computer that you don't want there. Most computers are taken over by some virus or another. You don't have any detection for that, so you don't know it. So what I'd say is right now, probably the safest thing you can do is use iOS. Apple's done a really good job of making it very difficult for anybody to load malicious code on. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's certainly the biggest target in the world. There will be hacks on iOS, but they're a lot more rare. And it's a lot more difficult. There's no Adobe PDF code on there. There's no Flash. There's no Java. And it's very difficult for me to load code in through the browser the way I can on desktops. And so I'd say do all your banking on iOS. That's probably really smart. I'm making that up, but it's probably the best advice I have right now.
Right. Okay, so let me come to the zapping the mosquitoes part. Now, how did that come into, and you've done 3D printing and you want to print food. And
yeah. I work at the Intellectual Ventures Lab. And what we do is we try to invent at a very large scale. We try to invest in inventors. We try to invent solutions to the biggest problems in the world. Now, we don't make any products or anything. All we do is invent. And so we're looking for big problems. Bill Gates asked us to work on malaria. So we tried to invent a bunch of ways to help with eradication campaigns, our ability to go and try and eradicate malaria, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a big challenge, but this is a problem that still takes almost 1 million lives a year. Half of them are kids under 5 years old. This is the low-hanging fruit in global health. If we can solve malaria, we can save 1 million lives a year. And that keeps also a lot of people who are sick and things like that. So it's a really important problem. We're looking for important problems. One of our most famous inventions, can I have that water, is a machine that can find mosquitoes flying around and shoot them down with laser beams. And that's a way of intervening in malaria and trying to reduce the amount of malaria that spreads And we think that we can really improve things with some of these inventions. That's just one invention. It's not a complete solution. We need more, but we are working on more.
But is it something that you could scale up? As in, could people be carrying around laser?
Yeah,
gun
again, this
machines?
device is made of consumer electronics.
Right.
Right? These are all things that follow Moore's law. They get cheaper every year. And so it's still too expensive to deploy where we want in Africa, but give it a few years and hopefully all the components will get cheap enough that we'll be able to do that at a larger scale.
So tell us about one more challenge that you're working on.
Yeah, so what I think is probably will always be our most important invention is a new type of nuclear reactor called Terra Power. It's a reactor that's powered by nuclear waste. So it's vastly more efficient than today's reactors. It's a modern, safe reactor design that requires no miracles. We just have to reinvent and re-engineer the type of reactors that we build. And that possibility exists. It's very important because this is the only idea we have for how to create enough carbon-free energy to power the planet. Our goal and the way we think about it is to give every human on Earth as much energy as an American gets. And right now, I get about 10 times as much energy as most people on Earth, just on me personally. Every American does. And so, if you look at the amount of energy used today and project growth based on, a few percent a year growth in demand, that doesn't get us there. That's not a comprehensive solution. That assumes that we're going to keep having this disparity between Americans and everyone else. And that's not the goal. We're not trying to save America, we're trying to save the world. And so to do that, we need to invent solutions to these problems at that scale. And so I think that while alternative energy schemes are amazing and we should keep working on them, solar and wind and things like that, if we want to really solve the problem at a large scale, we already have the solution. Nuclear fission is available, we just haven't tried in our lifetime to go engineer modern reactor technologies. So that's what we're doing, and I think that's the most important thing. If you solve energy, you solve a bunch of other problems for free.
Right. And don't forget the mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes are certainly a big problem, and they're carrying more than malaria, and we do want to solve those problems as well.
Pablos, thank you so much. For
Oh,
speaking
my
with
pleasure.
us.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.